Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Steven Universe review. This one's going to be for Season 5 Episode 19, which is called Now We're Falling Apart. So yeah, this is the first of I think 5 or 6 episodes we're getting this week. It's a new kind of batch Steven Bomb of episodes. I will be reviewing the rest of them. I probably won't do like one every day since I have other videos to put out, but over the course of this week I will cover all of the new episodes that have come out. So yeah, we're just focusing on the one now, but it's a very important episode, this one, in that this is ultimately the extra explanation needed to, I suppose, fully get everyone on board with the reveal from last time out that Rose is Pink Diamond, and how to kind of associate those two things together, because the diamonds are like the bad guys of the series, basically. How could Rose, who's like one of the more heroic characters, the kind of former leader of the Crystal Gems, be a diamond, and how does that work, basically? So the last episode, if you really looked into it, I think explained everything, but this episode serves as really good clarification, because I know there was a bit of debate in the fandom after the last episode just about like, wow, like this was really kind of selfish on Rose's part because of like this and that, because she just did it on her own. When did this happen? Because we didn't have all the details, it was kind of somewhat easy to make it seem like this wasn't particularly well planned out or something like that. But this episode, I think, did a very good job. So they used the reason to explain all of this as to catch up Sapphire primarily on this, but more or less the audience, all of the characters on this. So Amethyst kind of accepts it and is kind of like, okay, this is a crazy reveal, but okay. Garnet splits apart into Ruby and Sapphire because of this, because obviously Ruby seems to be somewhat accepting of it, but at the same time I also feel like we don't necessarily know how she feels, but it seemed like she accepted it. Sapphire was very hurt by this because I suppose, given that she can predict the future in a way, the fact that she never thought to, in a way, predict the future of Rose, she probably could have seen something like this or predicted it, but she ignored it, she trusted her, and then because of that, it's like almost a bigger betrayal for her because she had those powers, and she usually does kind of look into people in that way, but didn't because she trusted her so much. So I think definitely from what you get and her little cut-ins throughout the story, she's meant to sort of represent the audience's kind of doubts about this. The audience's kind of, no, Rose was kind of at fault for some of these things, and that she's definitely presenting that side of things, whereas Steven and Pearl, who's telling the story, are meant to basically say, no, here's the full context so that you can understand it. And they do it in such a way where they make sure to get across that, I think Rose towards the end says she was foolish, maybe even selfish, but she was doing the right thing. And I like that they did that, because I think that is the one, I suppose, perhaps negative on this that you can absolutely take, is that, yes, perhaps like the rebellion happening in the way it did, you know, it did come from her ideals. She is leading this and what she believed in. And, you know, it ended up, I think, getting a lot of people hurt, killed. But it was the right thing to do. And so, like, just adding that little bit of doubt of, like, establishing that, like, Rose, Pink Diamond, was this very young character. It was kind of like the diamond in training, that the more experienced diamonds, blue and yellow, were sort of just setting everything up for her. You just monitor this, we'll set it all up for you. And they're not really letting her like think or do anything on her own. They just expect her to be part of the machine and maybe one day make decisions on her own. And this is where they established that Pearl was like given to her before all of this happened. And then because Pink is so inexperienced, the dynamic between the two of them is much more of equals rather than the other ones where it's very much the case where the Pearl is like a servant almost. And it's still that dynamic in that Pearl is always saying my diamond, but Pink kind of doesn't really treat her that way, which I quite like, in that they're definitely getting across the idea of like her being kind of young and inexperienced, sort of naive in a way, but because of that is able to see things differently than the kind of entrenched other kind of diamonds. And that's where it really comes into play, where you can see as she's monitoring all of this stuff, she's super bored about everything that's happening. She's just going along with it. And she gets excitement when she realizes new gems are about to be born. The amethysts, which is where our amethyst comes from. And they directly, I suppose, show us the moment where they didn't wait for our amethyst to come out. And we obviously know that that's why she was kind of on her own, left behind in a way. So there's that. And just seeing how like happy she is about that new life, and her wanting to greet them, how kind of happy and kind she is about all of this is a really kind of fun thing to see. But then Pearl showing her around Earth, she sees the plant life all around the planet. She sees early humans, I suppose, and realizes that we are making new life for like our species at the expense of this whole planet that exists. And they set up the idea here of like, she wants to fight for Earth, just Earth, which isn't really necessarily exactly what the crystal gems were all about, but it was like part of it. And that's when it kind of comes in of like, why does she get gems to fight for her on that front? And then they hit home the second part, the connection to Sapphire, the connection to Garnet. But I did like that idea that you just saw, that one kind of trip where in a way it really sparked that relationship from being a kind of diamond servant relationship into being much more equals, them kind of seeing each other that way. The romance to a degree between them definitely came across pretty well and was well done here, with Pearl absolutely kind of being the one who starts in a way the gears turning for Pink about all of this stuff, and that you find out that this is where the rose quartz kind of secondary identity comes from, of like, they'll never know because all that will ever be captured in terms of visuals will be another slightly weird looking kind of quartz or amethyst kind of being down there with them. And that's why she looks so different. That's where that exact look came from. It was to blend in with those amethysts down there. And I thought that was a clever little thing, that like, okay, Pearl was the actual one who came up with that idea. She was the one who showed her around Earth, which was what prompted the whole idea. So they're getting across that the crystal gems, it's not all just Rose did everything. Rose did everything kind of inspired by Garnet, inspired by Pearl, and so on. That the others are just as important as she is in all of this because of what they're doing here. And that's what's so good about this, is that it's Rose's backstory in a way, but it's also kind of incorporating all of the crystal gems in a way into this backstory. And that here is the like in or around the birth of Amethyst is when a lot of these key events actually happen. She's born at roughly the same time as they discover Pearl and Rose discover Garnet. They discover fusions and that whole idea of like it's forbidden, but it's actually this really kind of beautiful thing. And they discover that Earth is actually this amazing planet that deserves to be allowed to kind of thrive on its own. And this is when you find out that she made every effort that she could to protect it and stop them from using Earth as basically just a kindergarten. But the only thing that they did to sort of satisfy her wants basically was that they created the zoo for her, because they thought that like, oh, she actually sort of cares about the human species, let's just, we'll keep a population of them in this zoo thing, as if like she just saw them as pets, whereas we see that she actually sees them as like an equal life form that shouldn't be destroyed just to keep the crystal gems kind of being born, gems being born. So I thought that was a good explanation of where the zoo came from, in that it wasn't Pink's idea. It was technically her zoo, but she had like basically no say in how it happened beyond just that, maybe she tried to make it so that they were okay, but that fundamentally Yellow and Blue were the ones who were in charge of basically all of this. And I think the most telling line in all of this was basically that line where they effectively say that she used all of her power, but Yellow and Blue just basically ignored her position because they are the more experienced diamonds, and because they were in charge of basically everything that she was doing, they just you saw that her power only went so far, and it's the different I suppose an experience level between them, that they had all of the clout in the end to get stuff done. She didn't, so she basically did something in a way where they had to basically respond to her, which was creating the rebel fighter Rose Quartz and leading this rebellion. And the big thing being that she's not just fighting for Earth. What causes her to fight in a way for freedom and kind of go against the other diamonds for more, reasons within their own kind of culture, was because of, I suppose, the treatment of fusions, and realizing that now this is something we should actually care about and get behind. And so them meeting Garnet, they kind of consider what it would be like for them to fuse. You see kind of Pearl basically confess that she kind of cares about Rose in that way. They fuse for like a second, then they're kind of like, whoa, like what did we just do? Like that was forbidden, but they're kind of like, but it was also like really interesting. So a lot of kind of new stuff happening from there as they're kind of discovering these new aspects of their cultures. It's just their, in a way, biology of like that. Here's stuff that they can do, but is for some reason forbidden within their culture, and should that be the case? And instead they fight for, like, yes, to protect Earth, because Earth sort of represents the freedom that they actually want for Homeworld, basically, that they shouldn't be stopping people from being the way that they want to be, and they're using Earth as sort of this, in a way, battleground to fight for the freedom of gems as well. And that idea is inspired by Garnet. The overall idea of a lot of this happening comes from Pearl, and the whole crystal gems begin to form at this point. So it felt like a very complete episode, even though it was just a single 11-minute episode. So they packed a lot of information in here, and I thought this reveal of just the pink diamond is Rose reveal was exceptionally well done across like the last episode and this one. I assume there'll still be a little bit more to come with it, where they explain the full backstory, but the core of it is out now. And I suppose now we're pretty much looking towards, like, we sort of know there's a season 6 now, so are we looking towards Endgame at this point of, like, when are we properly going to have some sort of a Earth versus Homeworld battle? Are we going to head to Homeworld and really, I suppose, try and finish what Rose started, and actually enforcing some sort of a change on Homeworld, which is going to be the freedom to fuse fundamentally, but just the, I suppose, taking the diamonds out of power in a way that their laws aren't necessarily everything. But then there's still the whole idea of, like, a white diamond is still this kind of mystery out there. And again, Pearl isn't pink, so it's not like pink Pearl, it's white Pearl. So what's up with white diamond? Like, I think we've seen like murals of kind of like her, but like we actually haven't seen her in person yet. So that's going to have to be one of the bigger reveals, to see just what the full extent of that is. And I suppose some sort of a backstory about why gem kind of culture is like this. Why some of them know that they can fuse, but they've like forbidden it for some reason. Obviously we know that it fundamentally makes them more powerful. Is it a case that just like individually diamonds are more powerful than like every other gem, but fusion creates issues because it makes normal gems more powerful? I'm not really sure, because the main thing that they outlaw is the fusion of different gems. They're fairly okay with just normal gems, the similar gems fusing together. So there's probably some stuff like that about like where does the evilness aspect of the diamonds actually come from, but we'll probably get to that in a while. It looks like next episode's going to be about finding wherever Ruby's gone off to, because Ruby was left with just Amethyst, I think. So Amethyst isn't exactly the most responsible, so they might have just went somewhere. Are they going to address some emotional stuff with Ruby before Garnet kind of reforms. I'm not sure. It's going to depend on what exactly they do for this, because Sapphire's obviously going to want to apologize because I wouldn't say it was an insult, but like sort of dismissed Ruby a little bit when she ran off by saying like, you don't like think about anything. That's what like I'm here for, is to think about the future. That's not you. It was a little bit of an insult, but I'm not really sure if kind of Ruby would have taken it like as that way, or just like, yeah, in our relationship that's what you do, or what. So either way, it's something, and I just hope that we've had this big reveal now. We don't do what the show has at times done, which is do something big and then all of a sudden here's 5 episodes where we just return to like Beach City characters and don't do anything, and then something big happens again. Like, continue stuff on, build the plot, begin to set up like the finale for this season, move into season 6. Where are we actually heading? I think we still have Lars is heading back to Earth, so him arriving could happen towards the end of this group of episodes. That's probably going to be a big thing if he brings any potential news or anything like that. There's still a few little plot threads out there, but ultimately I suppose we're sort of waiting for some sort of a big shocking thing where like the Diamond Army arrives over Earth and like there's this secondary attack coming in, or they decide that they have to head to Homeworld. One of those two things is kind of what we're sort of like waiting for, like the big kind of how is the end of the show kind of going to play out. But as I said, this episode I thought was really, really well done. So that's my thoughts on the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on it. But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.